Hey Spartans, my name is Lila Meyer.
And my name is Faiza Sayed. We're so lucky to live in a country that gives us so many amazing opportunities.
We wouldn't have any of these opportunities without our brave soldiers who spent countless days, months, and years apart from their home and their families. In some cases, this sacrifice even cost them their lives.
Although we should honor our veterans every day, November 11th is the official day in the United States where we can honor their work and sacrifice.
Veterans Day falls on the anniversary of the end of World War I to honor U.S. veterans and victims of all wars.
Veterans Day specifically honors veterans who have been honorably discharged, and we thank them for their service on this day.
Memorial Day is always the last Monday in May, and this is when we commemorate all of the fallen soldiers.
Lastly, the third Saturday in May is known as Armed Forces Day, which is where we recognize everyone currently serving our country.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
And the rockets red our flags gave us blue. They proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave.
I'm Rick Caesar. My Navy title was Aviation Anti-Submarine Warfare Chief Petty Officer in the United States Navy, of which I served for 26 years.
What are the most memorable experiences you have from your time in the military?
During my service, what we did was I flew on a patrol aircraft. It was called a P-3 Orion. Mainly during the Cold War, it was anti-submarine warfare, and then we do coastal patrols, we do drug interdiction ops. So we did a variety of things, kind of reconnaissance type aircraft. There was a time we were flying out of El Salvador, and we were actually packed all our bags. We were trying to board the aircraft, pre-flight it, and then fly back. So we were done with our tour, and we got a call that there was a boat adrift. They found out, and we were activated to basically fuel up the aircraft and go out on a mission. And we spent 12 hours doing what we call a ladder search in an area and trying to find these 60 people that have basically been on a small boat for over 3 days without food and water. So we were not able to find them, but because of our work, the next crew that went out there was able to actually find them, and we ended up as part of that rescue. So I ended up being awarded a NATO service medal, which was wonderful. And the thing that resonates with me mostly on the medal is that if you flip over the back of the medal, it actually says, "In service of peace and freedom." And that's really the purpose of what we were doing, and really my whole naval career.
Our next question for you is, what were some challenges that you faced while serving time in the military?
Yeah, so there were some personal hardships, and that's easy. We can all adapt to different type of situations. When you look at a typical mission that we flew, it was roughly about a 3-hour pre-flight, and then we go flying anywhere from 10 to 12 hours. And then there was probably a 2-hour debrief so that we go through everything that we went through on the mission. So you're talking 15, 16-hour type days, and then you'd land, you'd sleep, and you go do it again. And so that's something you had to kind of get used to. But the real hardship was really the separation from family. So as you know, I'm Samantha's father and your teacher, Samantha Caesar's father, or sorry, Samantha Rossi's father. And unfortunately, I wasn't there for a lot of things. I missed some Christmases, I missed some birthdays. All those events was probably the biggest challenge. That separation from family and friends, sometimes during time of need. So that's probably it. And I think most service members will say that it's not about themselves; it's about the people around them. That's the hardship.
Our next question is, how do you usually like to spend Veterans Day?
Veterans Day is kind of just like any other day, I would say. It's not like I get together with my fellow veterans. I do get together on a yearly basis with a group of people I served with. So we tell old stories and we joke around and things like that. But Veterans Day, again, kind of a day of recognition. Memorial Day, though, quite often, I will go to a service to remember those that have fallen. So I find Memorial Day a much more almost emotional type day, where Veterans Day is more of a celebration of those that served.
Our last question for you today is, are there any ways that you can think of how communities can better support veterans and their families?
Yeah, it's really about, in my view, the people that need it. So, veterans have gone through different experiences, and some have suffered from post-traumatic syndrome, PTSD, and it's important that we help them get stabilized again, as well as disabled veterans. So not all veterans need, we served, I served 26 years. I was very fortunate. I have a minor disability, but I'm physically able and everything else. There are those that need it. And I actually extend that thought process beyond just veterans. We should help our neighbors, think about hurricanes that happen, things down that line. We need to, give a helping hand whenever we can, however we can. So it's that thought process.
Good morning, guys. My name is Staff Sergeant Pack. I'm the local Marine Corps recruiter for the Bellevue area.
What aspects of your military life do you think people who aren't in the Marines don't fully understand?
I think there's a common misconception that we're robots and that we don't get to live daily life like everybody else does between the civilians and military. So I think that's like the biggest misconception, that we don't have our own personal lives, which we do. So.
Do you remember a specific Marine or service member that left a lasting impact on you?
Yeah, so my mentor, Major Golshani, he took me under his wing. He taught me how the Marine Corps works and how just how to be a better person and a man. So I really look up to him.
How do you typically celebrate Veterans Day?
I wouldn't say I truly celebrate it, but I take my time to reach out to my mentors, prior Marines, prior service members, and thank them for their service, because the day is more for them, not me. So.
And then lastly, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to join the Marines or the military?
I would say just make sure it's something you want to do. There's no pain in trying to ask questions to see if it's for you or not. So I think that's the biggest thing. Just don't let the fear of not knowing stop you from reaching out to people. So reach out to me.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Hey Spartans, we have a school-wide food fundraiser coming up starting on November 18th and going through December 13th.
You guys are going to have plenty of time before and after Thanksgiving to donate any non-perishable food items to the Issaquah Food Bank.
Examples include canned and boxed foods such as soups, rice, pancake mix, and much more.
Boxes will be located around the school at the main doors, the upper and lower commons, and the counseling office. Be sure to check ASB's Instagram for more details to come soon.
I'm Mrs. Moore, and my service member is my son John, who graduated from here in 2023, and he is currently serving in the U.S. Navy. He joined December 14th, 2023, so just under a year ago, and he went to Great Lakes to do boot camp, which is the only boot camp for the Navy. He was there for 10 weeks. Graduated with, not with the highest honors, but graduated with an honor of being a flag bearer in his division. So only like 6 people got to do that. And then after boot camp, he went to San Antonio for 15 weeks, where he's learned how to do the job of an MA, which is a Master at Arms. It's another way of saying military police. So he just finished that in June, and Now he's in Kings Bay, Georgia, awaiting what to do next.
How does their service impact your family's daily life and routines?
He's our only kid, so it's been really hard. But we're extremely grateful that he's still in the U.S. and he's not overseas in conflicts right now, because there's lots of people that are in dangerous situations. So that's good, but he's on the complete opposite side of the country from us, and so that's hard. So I'm still trying to figure out, how do I be myself without being a mom? Because he's away.
How do you manage to stay connected?
Oh, Lord. Well, during boot camp, I wrote him and another serviceman every day for 8.5 weeks, and because they weren't allowed to have their phones. After boot camp, we're texting every single day. I text him every morning, good morning, and I text him every evening, good night. And we try to talk when we can. And I send him little care packages of food, because he's eating out of a microwave right now. But we FaceTimed a little bit, but mostly texting.
Are there any last things you want to say or share?
Yeah. We are extremely proud of him. My grandfather served in World War II, and so he's the first one since then. And while he didn't necessarily join out of a sense of patriotism, he's made a decision that a lot of young kids don't know they can make, or are scared to make. Like, he's made a 5-year commitment to serve in the military, and he is willing. He's willing to do what's needed, and we're just so proud of him. So proud of him. And when he watches this, he knows I love him. Because I am going to send this to him.
Oh, beautiful, far heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, make God thy gold refined, till all success be nobleness, and ever again divine. And you know, when I was in school, we used to sing it something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties, over the fruited plain. But now wait a minute, I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed his grace on thee. He crowned thy good. Yes,
The first question is, can you share what you know about the Veterans Service? What branch was he a part of, and what responsibilities did he have?
Yeah, so my dad, David Wilson, was a part of the U.S. Army. He was drafted to serve, and he worked as a stenographer for the U.S. Inspector General's office in Long Binh in Vietnam. So he worked typing up memos and sending those out for a little over a year while he was in Vietnam.
Do you know how his journey was when he was first enlisted or when he got deployed?
Yeah, so my dad was drafted, so he got the draft letter. He had been in school, so he had been getting his bachelor's, and he was going to get his master's, but it was kind of this in-between year, and so he wasn't eligible to defer, and so he also wanted to kind of be a part of, like, he knew it was like a historical moment, and he kind of wanted to be a part of that, and so then he went and he did the training and all of that, and then he went to Vietnam and kind of immersed himself in that whole situation and all of that.
All right, and the last question was, were there any challenges your family faced after he was on deployment?
Yeah, so my dad, in that area, they're using a lot of Agent Orange, and so he was exposed to Agent Orange while he was serving, along with a lot of other veterans, because they weren't made aware, even though the government knew, that it was a highly toxic chemical that was going to cause these long-lasting effects. And so they were using the bins that were left over after dumping the Agent Orange for their showers and for drinking their beverages out of and all this. And so he was getting exposed externally and internally, like many other veterans. And so for years, he was like fine living his life. But when I was a junior in high school, he got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is, there's a list of a dozen cancers that are caused from Agent Orange exposure. As our veterans do so much, and they risk their lives, and they do all of this incredible things for us, and then we don't treat them the way that they deserve. Going to the VA, there's not people to help get veterans from one place to the other. There's not wheelchairs accessible. So my dad would spend lots of times just like sitting on a bench while my mom went to go get the wheelchair, and a lot of the veterans didn't have people like that to support them, and so they were just supporting each other, which was an incredible experience too to see. There's just this brotherhood and this camaraderie where everyone is helping one another kind of get through this challenging process. So that was like something that was really impactful on everybody's lives relating to my dad.
Hey Spartans, tomorrow during both lunches, stop by the ASB garage to write cards to veterans.
I'm Linda Okamoto, the school nurse here at Skyline.
Okay, nice to meet you. Our first question is, can you share what you know about the veterans you know's service, and what branch were they a part of, and what responsibilities did they have?
I had a lot of family members that were veterans. My dad, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my cousin, and 5 uncles. So my dad was a part of the Army Air Corps, which I don't think they have anymore, and he was in World War II.
Nice. How was your life like when they were away, and how did you manage to stay connected to one another?
I think, well, it was before I was born that my dad was deployed. I would say I had cousins and my brother-in-law who was deployed, and I just miss them. My cousin was on a submarine for 9 years, and he went all over the place, and I just kept thinking I would be really claustrophobic in a submarine, but he seemed to be okay. He really said he enjoyed it, they were all happy to serve their country.
How did their service impact your family's daily life and routines?
I would say with my dad, it didn't really affect us because he came back before I was born, so anything didn't affect me. But just learning later in life, I guess, just asking him questions. He was like, I just figured he was drafted, but he volunteered and was just very happy to serve our country, and it made good friends, while he served.
And then lastly, is there any particular memory or story that stands out to you about their service?
For one of my uncles, he shared that I guess he was in the Navy and during World War II, and I think there was a lot of fighting all around them, and he had some close friends, and they just shared, okay, if we get out of this alive, we're going to meet at this certain time. And he shared that, yeah, they got out and they did meet together, and it was a great reunion. So it just sounded like he had good memories, and yet, scary times. I'm glad they all made it back.
Yeah.
My name is Kristen Plummer. I'm a school counselor here, and my family that served has multiple last names, mostly Doyles and Thomases.
Awesome. Can you share what you know about the Veterans Service? What branches were they a part of, and what responsibilities did they have?
Yeah, so a lot of my family is in the military. So both my grandfathers were in the Navy. My uncle and my father were in the Air Force, and then my cousin was in the Army. So we've had a family member in every war other than Korea since World War II.
Can you tell us about how life was like when they were away and how they managed to stay connected?
Yeah, so my dad always tells me the story of his dad was actually in the Pacific with the Navy when he was born. So his dad didn't get to meet him until he was about 5 months old. And for my grandma Jane, my dad's mom, I think being the wife of someone that was away while being pregnant, giving birth, and then just those first couple months of having a newborn. She is just such an amazing, strong lady. And to come back and be able to see your kiddo for the first time, I can't imagine what that was like for, I call him Papa, but Patrick Doyle. And I just think about that sacrifice of serving your country to the point of not even being there for your own child's birth. Really says something.
And then, were there any other challenges your family faced when they were away?
So my cousin Mikey was in Operation Desert Storm, which I was alive for, and just a constant not knowing, and wanting to watch the news, but also not wanting to watch the news, and not being sure kind of when you did hear something new was happening, not knowing kind of where your family member is, and having to wait for a long time to have communication. And then even when you get communication, not knowing how much they can actually share. And also see now with my dad and my uncle, both being veterans, just seeing the after effects. PTSD is absolutely a real thing. And I'm also watching my dad deal with some health issues that comes from things like the use of Agent Orange while in Vietnam. And so being able to see how strong he is and the things he's gone through, but also see just what it's like for him to be able to get medical help through veterans programs versus kind of what we have the ability to get through private insurance is kind of eye-opening, just the different ways that our veterans are both taken care of and perceived.
Hey Spartans, ASB is excited to introduce a way for you and your families to support veterans this year by donating through the Issaquah School District Pay Portal. The first step is to type in your search bar, Issaquah School District Pay Portal. That should give you this link here, which you click on, scroll down, and then select the Pay Online button. Here, you can enter your login information. The username will be your Skyward Parent Access username, and the password will be the one you created on your first visit. Click Sign In, then select a Skyline student, and you should see a pop-up that says ASB Veterans Day Donation Drive. Here, you can enter an amount to be donated to the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs General Help Fund. To do this, enter the amount you wish to donate in the white box, then click on the blue Buy button. Donations are open now, and the last day to donate will be Sunday, November 17th. 100% of these donations will be used to help and support veterans, so make sure you donate before November 17th. Make sure to take a moment on Monday to think about how the sacrifices veterans have made have impacted our lives and protected our country.
Some ways you can honor our veterans are by reaching out to anyone you may know who has served and thanking them for their service. If you don't personally know any veterans, write a card or take a moment to remember everything they have done to keep our country safe.